Down to Chat is brought to you by swag.com. We are going to be talking more about employee retention in this podcast, and I think one of the super important parts of keeping employees is making them feel valued. It's core to company culture. It's core to making people feel welcome. And so many brands pull out this janky old swag that people don't want to keep. Swag.com is exciting because they carry thousands of incredible products, from custom tech to apparel like North Face and Yeti and Nike and so much more. Swag.com works with 5,000 companies like Amazon, Netflix, Spotify, TikTok, Google, Apple, and a whole bunch of small startups. The most exciting thing for me on swag.com is that you can create these custom gift templates where when somebody joins your company, they fill out a form. They go onto this landing page. I know Cody's a big landing page guy. Hop on a landing page and you can actually, brand this landing page, and it feels like your company's swag selection page, which is absolutely awesome. And you can ship 50 different swag boxes to 50 different addresses all on their site. So excited for that. If you use promo code DTC10 at checkout, you get 10% off your first order. Check it out, swag.com.
Marketing is building the desire for your product. It's convincing people that what you offer fulfills a desire or fixes a problem that what they have.
I've honestly stopped guessing what episode we're at, because every time I do it, I end up looking like a moron. I'm like, we're at episode 12, and Cody's like, no, we're at 8. So I think we're somewhere around 10.
I think this is 10, but I also could be wrong. I missed one. It's good to be back, but the one you did last week was awesome.
That was fun. It's like having the opportunity to like go deep on CX with somebody that's a real leader in CX has been a blast. But great to have you back.
As opposed to you, are you not a real leader?
I'm kind of a fake one, but I don't know. It's been fun. I think it's been fun in general, seeing like CX become like a real thing over the last few years. Repeat just did their awards and had like the CX operator of the year. I thought that was kind of hot. I just love CX kind of being put on the map. Makes me look good.
Big CX guy.
No, but we have a couple of fun topics this week. It's just Cody and I. Maybe we'll do some testies at the end. Just kind of talk about what's working, what's not. But the first kind of thing, this is totally selfish that I want to riff on this. I don't know, like anyone that's been following me for a minute knows that I'm obsessed with travel, like free travel, points and miles travel, credit cards travel, all the kind of chaotic, not pay for travel things. I think it was Gina from Retection that told me about this hotel called Yamangiri in Utah. That's like $5,000 a night, and you book it like a year in advance. And I went down this rabbit hole and realized that they have quite a few of these hotels. They have one in Thailand and I think in Bali. So my brother sent me this article. They are opening one in New York City that is in Midtown Manhattan and will be $3,200 a night for the cheapest room. There's something about, first of all, $3,200 for like a 700 square foot room in Manhattan is iconic. But that's like, who's fucking around with that? Who's staying there?
They're
is that like
they're going to crush it. Like, there is so much money out there, especially in New York, that they're probably going to crush it. They're going to crush it or probably die trying.
I think that's like so I was reading the article. I'll drop it in the show notes. It's a New York Times article about like this, how they are obsessed with trying to find the vibe of the city and put it in their hotel. Guests can take it up a notch and spend $36K a night for 2 adjoining suites and a half a day in a private spa with their hammam and punch pool. The photos of the hotel kind of looks like a West Elm energy, nothing too insane. They have an Aman club within hotels that cost $200K per location to join. Iconic.
What's that get you?
I don't even know. So the pool is kind of like, they did some interviews with like high net worth individuals and asked them what they think about the hotel. And somebody said the pool looks municipal, and I kind of died.
Oh my God.
It's a municipal pool.
It's like the funniest word for like a slanderous word from like a rich person.
I was like,
so elitist.
Amazing. It's, and they're just kind of like trying to have, just trying to make this, create this kind of energy in Midtown Manhattan. I think Midtown Manhattan is like a interesting place to build something like this, because I think Midtown is the worst part of Manhattan. But hey, Cody, to limit how far a diner can see in the hotel's Italian restaurants, the lighting designer used narrow beams of light to illuminate the tables. When you sit at the table, you can see the person in front of them, but not four or five tables away.
Thinking of everything.
Crazy. And then the second thing that I saw this week that kind of blew my mind. There is this. It's called "We Work for the 0.1%."
Oh, I think I saw that.
Crazy. They are charging, and I'm talking about this because I think that, when I was like 19, Soho House was like the shit, and everyone's like, you can't get in, all the cool people are there. Now it's like every e-com bro is in Soho House taking phone calls from the pool, which I think is just funny. But this We Work for the 1.01% has it's called Colette, COLETTE, has an initial 125K buy-in share price, and then costs like 36K a year.
Absolutely insane. And you don't even get to play golf for that price. If I'm paying that much, I better be a golf course. That's the only thing is worth it to me.
Now, the thing that brought this all together for me was within the same kind of 2-day period, people's student debt is being forgiven. So it's just like gives you this kind of broader understanding of where we are. We have people paying 125K to buy into a WeWork, and student loan being washed away. And I think it's just an incredible dynamic. I think it's just been interesting, and I guess this is how it kind of brings it back into e-commerce. I think it's been wild to see how, like luxury brands have crushed it over the last year, even though everyone's like, there's no money, and seemingly,
Yeah, I have no fucking idea what's happening with the economy. I am not going to try to be an expert. I know everyone else on Twitter is an economy expert. I am not. I have no fucking idea. And I have no idea how it's going to be. I think probably it's good to be a little bit pessimistic at times, and cut budget and cut expectations. But yeah, it's really tough because you do have some categories that are actually still continuing to do pretty well, and different kind of, I guess, tiers of brands that are doing really well when everyone's like, there's no money. I remember reading a while ago this book. It's called Marketing to the Affluent by Dan Kennedy. And he made a really, really good point. And one of his points is more for like service-based businesses, but like to recession-proof your business. Again, this is more of a service than like a consumer goods. Like you want to be selling to the affluent. And he kind of broke down the math. But like if you take like a 10% reduction in earnings, from market going down and stuff like that, most kind of middle class people are closer to paycheck. Like that really gets things pretty tight. So there's really barely any additional spending in there. And same thing with inflation, right? Like that's when things are stretched pretty tight. But if you take a 10% reduction of people that would be considered like affluent, or at least like mass affluent, so not like super wealthy, but like a good amount above the 50th percentile, like it really doesn't hurt them too much. It kind of slows down their savings rate a little bit, but their kind of lifestyle, it's not really completely altering. So I wonder if that's kind of what you're seeing.
I think that's a very interesting point. I think it's felt like that, how like the super luxury, like not even super luxury in the larger frame of things, but like $140 box of cookies is crushing it. And the super cheap, I think it's the middle, right? Like I think the middle is kind of slowly seeing this decline. Like I think the super expensive skincare brands are still going to crush it. And the more like affordable ones will still crush it. And it might be the middle one, which kind of, I guess, ties into your broader theory here.
I think that's fair. I definitely have noticed that, and that's been like a thesis of mine. Definitely like the middle is kind of the tougher place to be.
Yeah. So the $3,200 hotels crushing. The Holiday Inn will be crushing. It's like the $300, $400 hotels. And we are seeing that for any hotel junkies that are looking at like Hotel Tonight, and like some of the Hyatts in New York City that were $400 or $500 over the last 5 years are now going for $200 or $250 a night, which is obviously like it's an inventory thing. But I think the middle space here is going to suffer. Again, totally not an economist. Don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's just things that I'm anecdotally feeling and seeing.
No, for sure. So I just moved last week and just kind of finally got moved in. But we looked at the house next door to us. Our neighbors like were moving and they wanted to sell it off market. So I remember we looked and like we didn't think it was the best, and we were like, oh, it's probably like 100,000 less than what they're trying to get. I think they wanted like 700. We were like, it's probably not worth like above 6. They got 810. And like I thought that they were gonna struggle to sell it. I thought they weren't really gonna get anything. So like things are still moving a little bit. Like there are still people out there that have money. So like, I think people love to blame things. People love to blame CPMs. People love to blame seasonality, inflation, iOS, all this kind of stuff. But I think like it's definitely going to be more difficult, and you have to be realistic. And I think if you're growing at all, you're probably way above the market right now. But I also think that like your mindset and your mentality can really affect you. And if you tell yourself that things are really, really hard, you're going to find reasons and excuses, versus if you just go business as usual, build the best product you can, build the best team you can, put a great message out there, like you'll probably be fine.
I think I might give you a middle name. It'll be like Cody Segway Plofker, because you just did a perfect segue into your little thread that popped
What am
off.
I talking about? All right, let's do it. You want to talk about? So I tweeted a
Yeah.
thread the other day. I was just fucking around. I was on a walk, which is like usually when stuff, I get inspiration. And I was like, I've been so busy, I haven't really tweeted. So let me just throw something out there. And usually people love if it has to do with Facebook ads. So I just did this thread about kind of what's working right now, and blew up a little bit. And I just got some good feedback on it. So I just want to kind of break it down and just go into a little bit more detail of kind of what's working. Yeah, overall, like I can't really share the numbers and everything, but like, we're spending probably 35% more than last month. So having a super strong month, this actually might be our best month yet. If not, it'll be, in our top 3, just overall revenue. But so we're spending about 30% more. I think CPAs, on platform, whatever you want to call it, are probably down like 15, 20%. So like big increase in volume and decrease, in CAC is always very nice to see and not expected. So yeah, just wanted to share some of what I'm seeing, because it's some of the best, results I've seen in a while. And I've heard across the board for a lot of people that they're seeing some good stuff. So number one is whitelisting. We're doing a ton of whitelisting. I got so many questions about what whitelisting is, so I'll just explain. Whitelisting is when you run ads from somebody else's page. So you're still running them from your ad account. It's still your spend, but you're running the ads from usually it's an influencer content creator's page. You can also do it from like a publications page. So right now, because we have well-known founder Bobby has a personal page. We are running the majority of our ads through there. I think we probably have 3 or 4 ads running from the Jones Road Beauty page right now. It's so funny because I get these like LinkedIn like emails all the time. Like,
Are you running Facebook ads?
yeah, it looks like I see errors. You're only running 3 ads. That's a major mistake
flaw.
you're making. You must suck and not know what you're doing. Let me come in and fix this for you.
Love it.
But yeah, so what we'll do is we'll pretty much test every single ad we run, if it's worthwhile, whether it's for Bobby's in it or whether that's UGC content creator, whitelisted versus not, and nearly always whitelisted wins. Better thumb stop rates, so better hooks. People stop more, people watch for longer, so better average watch times. Click through rates are better. Just generally across the board, it's better.
Question, Cody.
Yeah.
When it comes to whitelisting, and I love these conversations because you're like super deep in the growth universe, and I'm like not at all. So I like that I'm asking questions that I feel like a lot of people might be asking.
Totally.
If somebody doesn't have a founder that's Bobby, do you think our whitelisting is crushing because it's Bobby, or do you think anyone kind of like the theory that I would kind of, my hypothesis would be whitelisting works because it feels less salesy, right? Like it doesn't feel like it's a brand saying buy our shit. It feels like it's somebody saying like, I like this. It's kind of like why UGC has worked for some people. Would that make sense?
100%. It's native. I think anytime you can do something that's native to the platform, it performs better. I think this is probably one of those things that like media buyers, I have an unconventional opinion, and I think probably like the rest of the world would agree with me, but media buyers are so dogmatic. I think it matters whose page it comes from, even from UGC and an influencer. So yeah, 100% results are better because it's Bobby. I mean, there's just no way about it. In general, whitelisting performs better than not, and we've seen even if it's not a well-known person's page, whitelisting performs better. But if it's a well-known person's page, whitelisting performs way, way, way better. But I know brands, and I don't know if I can say it, but I know some people who have a founder who's not well-known out of like the DTC space, and they're whitelisting nearly all of their ads from the founder's page.
Some that I've seen that whitelist, and I mean, obviously, Olipop did a ton of whitelisting, not a ton, but plenty of whitelisting. When I was at Nugs, they did some whitelisting, but I think even like some of the long form founder videos, you know, whether whitelisted or not whitelisted, I think kind of to echo your point around, it doesn't necessarily have to be a famous founder. Like Mudwater is a great example of like, they will put 10-minute YouTube videos from their founder.
I haven't seen I've only seen TikTok.
And they're
YouTube Premium, so
unreal.
Don't get the ads. Yeah.
No, but he's not a well-known founder. I think it's like founder stories. I think my hypothesis would be, if it's not coming from a brand saying buy our shit, it kind of like, I think the thing that I think about often is like with most, it's kind of a funny human behavioral psychology thing where if anyone bought something on a swipe up and you ask them where they got it, they'll say like, oh, I'm not sure. Like people are embarrassed to say they bought something from a swipe up. Because they kind of feel like they were duped into it in a weird way, versus like when people say like, oh, I found it on Google, and you're like, oh, what did you search? And you're like, well, I searched best miracle balm, and I click on the first one. I'm like, yeah, that's an ad. Right. So I think it's like, I think people feel less duped into things, consumers, which is why
it's just more trustworthy. It's people want to buy from people. It's the same reason you reply from Eli and Sydney at Jones Road, or you're not replying from Jones Road. It's just more personal. And anytime you can make, you know, what you're doing more personal and more native to the platform, there's inherent trust signals. And instead of, you know, trying to manufacture trust, you know, Bobby's built trust over a, you know, 40-year career or whatever, you know, so there's definitely something that, but yeah, even if you don't have a well-known founder, definitely still do it. Whitelist it, founder stories, test them from the brand page and not. That'll kind of segue me into the next point, which is, you know, I said, education, but really I would say storytelling and education. So we're getting, you know, I can kind of share some of our ADA metrics, right? So our thumb stop rate, which is how many people stop and watch 3 seconds of all the people that see it, we're at about 50% on our top ads. That's way up from where we were from, you know, probably
is that the finger in the Miracle Bomb ad?
That's our top one. That's our 50% that we're just like
the comments on that one.
And over. I know, but we've got a few others that are still, you know, 40 plus, which is really, really good for us. But we're looking at that. We're looking at average watch time. So usually we're looking at like a average, you know, in the past have been like 5 to 7 seconds. We've got like 13 to 16 seconds on some of these ads, which is pretty, you know, crazy. Now they're longer ads, so that probably skews it a little bit. They're longer, but people are watching, you know, and I can look, and I like to look at like the cost per, you know, completion of a whole watch. But it's pretty crazy because people are watching these, and so my overall thesis and philosophy is, you know, you have to understand what people are on the platform for. And I talk about it a lot for TikTok, but I'm super, super just inspired by Masterclass, their style of advertising. I'm super inspired by content creators in general, and just understanding, you know, and again, I think you have to think of it like a media company. And so instead of just coming out and saying, buy my shit, like you've got to do something that, whether you're either telling a story or educating people, if you can do both at the same time, which is what we're doing in our best, most successful ads, it's so much better. Your watch times are going to be way longer. You're going to build way more trust. You're going to give much more value. That those watch times are going to be seen as a positive algorithmic signal. So you're going to get better placements in the auction and all that type of stuff. It's just kind of mind blowing. So yeah, there's a difference between marketing and selling, in my opinion. I think the problem is Facebook was so good, and in a SaaS business, in any business where you have to actually do sales with a person, there's a very clear distinction between marketing and selling. And I think in e-commerce and online businesses, there's really no clear distinction. And I think a lot of what people call marketing is actually sales. And in my definition, you know, this is taken from this guy named Rich Sheffrin, who's like a direct response marketer, is marketing is building the desire for your product. It's convincing people that what you offer fulfills a desire or fixes a problem that what they have. For example, let's say you're selling collagen supplements and you're trying to help people lose weight. your first step is not to say, buy my collagen. You don't even know, especially top of funnel, if people know that collagen fixes the problem that you solve. First of all, they have to know they have a problem. Sometimes you have to introduce a problem, but then you have to educate them, tell a story, persuade them that what you offer is the best solution for their problem versus, because if you think about it, if somebody's losing weight, they can try, they can try surgery, they can try personal training, they can try diets. Like obviously you can combine those things, but you have to make a connection and help them understand why collagen is the solution for them, usually using like something called a unique mechanism, which is explaining why what they've tried it before hasn't worked and this has. So that's really what I try to do is, we're not really going very problem. It's not like, hey, if you have dark circles, this is it. But it's just kind of a little bit more of like a desire thing, showing them the look, showing them how to use it, showing them how it looks. A lot of it is visual, but a lot more what would be normal like content marketing that you would see like normally like on organic YouTube videos or organic TikTok videos, And then so that's marketing. And then sales, in my opinion, my definition is getting people to part ways with their money for what you sell. Because somebody could know that they want what you sell. They're like, all right, oh, this Miracle Bomb looks great. Let me add it to cart. But they just don't act. And that's sales. That's where urgency, scarcity, all that kind of stuff, discounts, promos, like that's kind of where that comes in. And so my opinion, and this is where I think a lot of businesses get stuck. Maybe this is the difference between branding and direct response marketing. I think where a lot of businesses get stuck is they sell too much and they don't market nearly enough. And the reason why they get stuck is because, first of all, you kind of, when you sell, you kind of, I'm trying to think of the right word to say, but essentially, like marketing is like a deposit into an account and selling is like a withdrawal, and you're just withdrawing, and you're going to be, if you're not continuing to deposit, funds into that bank of goodwill, you're going to kind of be continuing to pull it out. And there's going to be no more people in there that have goodwill and are already kind of aware of you and know that what you can do solves. So I think that's why. And also if you look at anything, there's this book called The Ultimate Sales Guide or Pyramid by Chet Holmes. And there's a lot of research like about in any market. It's like classic like A to sales funnel stuff, but not everybody is ready to buy right now. Only 1 to 3% of really any market are going to be ready to buy right now in the next 30 days. And so that just makes your overall market that you're talking to so much smaller if you're only saying buy now, buy now. And so when you see all of these ads, and this guy, his name is Nate. He used to go by like Digitally Native on Twitter. He tweeted a while
Nate
back
Poulin?
about like, yeah. He's a super smart guy. I think he's like a
Bonobos.
COO. Yeah, I think he was Bonobos. But he tweeted about how like a while back about how like the biggest problem he sees is all these like DTC ads. Like they're kind of like, I don't remember the exact quote, but like very kind of like harming brand because there's like there's just like a big difference between like, do you remember kind of what he said? I don't want to like misquote it.
Yeah, I think it was basically the idea that they're pushing too hard on sales discounts and all that versus
with their ads specifically.
Yeah. Versus like brand building.
Exactly. So I couldn't agree more. They're not doing anything to generate top of funnel. And I think it worked when Facebook was so good because everything was so cheap and whatnot. And Facebook could find the right people. But I think now you really have to be marketing so much more in your ads than directly selling. So that's kind of my long rant of how I go and approach it. We're really not even making any offers. I think they would convert and crush better. So I think if we could find a way where we're marketing and selling in the same. But yeah, I think people are just kind of overselling to the little demand that they've created. And I think that's where they hit a big plateau.
I think in general that resonates on the retention side too. Like I think kind of like, I mean, it's also Gary's like jab, right hook.
Totally
ideology, right? Where it's like if you consistently go for right hooks, you're not in a great place. But I think it resonates for me on the retention side as well. It's like if you get that really quick sale without any education or without any like friction before the through the funnel where they actually get educated, they buy the product thinking it'll promise them really amazing skin in 2 hours, and that's not the case because it takes 6 months of use, and then you're basically getting a one-time customer that probably won't come back. So I think that's also
you oversold. From a retention aspect, you oversold.
But then you just say like, oh, let me find a retention consultant and they will fix it.
Flows. All right, so let me go on next one. I took a while on that one, so I'll be quicker. Next one, ruthlessly test variables. So we are trying to get really good at how we test things, so we're always generating learnings. And I think a big mistake that we made, we didn't really have the production quality of the team. Now we have a great partner that we work with, but so we really weren't able to create enough variables and are enough different kind of iterations where you're really only changing one variable. That's the most important thing, is you have to structure your test in a way. And this is not just an ads thing. Like, I know we're working on this on email and stuff like that right now, where you're testing one variable and you're really being strategic about how you're setting up your experiments to make sure you're actually generating learnings that will help you in the future. So what we are doing is we are, the most common one that people do is like they'll test the same ad with different hooks. We'll do a ton of that because that's what most people are going to see. So usually what we do, kind of our process when we get these creatives back from our partners, we'll get like 8 ads. We'll run them, just different concepts. Whatever gets the most spend, probably the top 2 to 3, we'll then make iterations of. Usually we'll test hooks. That'll be kind of the first thing. We'll test like 8 hooks. Whatever gets the most spend, probably top 3 or 4. Then we'll make different variations of. Let's say it's a great hook, but the watch time is not as good. Then we're looking at, all right, like I call it the lead, but that's like after the hook, how are you keeping attention? And we're just trying to, again, test these variables, see what we can learn. But I think just how you're organizing your tests is super, super important. Limiting variables. Another one we do, same exact visuals, but we'll test messaging. So the copy on the ad will be different. And that's been some really good learnings. And that's stuff that you can take with you into future. So we're at like the 3rd or 4th month working with these kind of partners on the video side. And like every month we just, things are performing better and better. Even our it's not just like we're finding more winners, but it's like our mediocre ads, our kind of middle of the road ads are now performing better and better than our middle of the road ads before. So it kind of brings up the whole thing.
So I guess you're basically what you're saying is that even if you're what you'd consider middle of the road video, it can still perform better if you update the hook and switch around the copy and whatever else.
If you're growing fast, just like we are, you know exactly how hard cash flow management can be. You've got customers to acquire, you've got ads to fund, you've got inventory to finance, especially if you don't want to dilute yourself by raising around. What options do you have? Enter Wayflyer. With Wayflyer, you can get fast, flexible funding from $10K to $20 million at the best possible rates. No collateral, no dilution, just the funding you need to improve your working capital and help you grow your business. Join the thousands of businesses using Wayflyer to fund their growth. Go to wayflyer.com/pod to learn more. Yeah, exactly. That if you're constantly testing and you're learning, you're not just testing to get performance and find a winner, but you're also testing to generate learnings. Then you're just a better advertiser and marketer, and the new ads you create should theoretically perform better than the old ads you created.
Interesting.
Next, pacing, right? So this is one, like I posted one on Twitter, and somebody, Zach Stuck, was like, oh, you should test it slower. I was like, all right, I'll test it. But I kind of already knew, like, usually my opinion, and we've tested this quite a bit, is like faster is better. And something should look for a good paid social ad, if you just look at it in isolation, you're watching it and reviewing it, on a computer, not on Facebook, it should look a little bit too fast. Because again, you have to stop people. You have to get and keep their attention. So what we test is pacing a ton. Few good ways to think about it. It's like the heartbeat method, which is where like every 1 to 1.5 seconds you're cutting. You should always be doing something. So we used to kind of run these ads that were a little bit long, slower, and it's not even about the length of them, but like they would be on one scene for too long. There wouldn't be enough happening. So you always want to either be cutting, having sounds, zoom. Let's say let's say we're showing makeup and we don't want to cut because we need a little bit longer to look at it. You can do like a jump cut or like zoom in to it to stay in that same thing, where you're able to then at least change it to keep things kind of visually moving. I would study Mr. Beast. If you look at his videos, it's pretty much, masterclass at it. Look at his TikTok ones. Also masterclass if you want to look at like ads. I'm in love with the masterclass ads. They do such a great job of doing this. They also do such a great job of telling stories and educating. So I would say they're probably like my biggest inspiration right now.
I mean, you're also competing with TikTok, right? Where people are swiping every 4 seconds. So I think as humans, our brains have,
100%.
A little bit.
You're swiping so much. You could have just honestly like mush in here. But yeah, you're competing with that, and it's great that everyone focuses on the hook, but it's not just the hook. You have to retain people as well. And obviously what you're talking about and stuff like that is important, but how you cut and edit things is extremely important.
I mean, I think what was interesting is obviously like Bobby ads work well, but now we have ads that don't feature Bobby and they still work well because of that like constant movement, interesting hook. Like I think, to be honest, I think hooks are like every ad that I've ever watched had a great hook.
Yeah, you probably just skipped it if it didn't have a good hook.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And now the interesting thing is like, this is the stuff we're talking about with our organic social team now, because so much of, Instagram is now, feed based and, algorithmic based. I can never say that word on the right time, the first time, but where, you're showing stuff to not your followers. So it's kind of an ad, and you have to think about capturing people's attention a lot more. So I feel like that's pretty rare for organic social teams to be talking about hooks. And now at least ours are. So it's kind of exciting because there's, less of a difference between organic and paid.
Yeah. I mean, as you're even talking through all this, I'm like thinking about the last conversation, just because my ADHD brain is all over the place. Yeah. The last conversation about like how, businesses need to optimize for longer periods of time when they're marketing, focusing on retention, all that. And I think, given the current VC funding situation and things potentially slightly drying up, like I think businesses were focused on this 2-year kind of like pump and dump, or even a 3-year pump and dump. You raise 50 million, you get a whole bunch of customers, you lose all the money, but now you're big enough to sell. And I think kind of as those things dry up a little bit, people will need to focus on longer horizons when they're building businesses. And I think, we've chatted about this on Twitter a bunch, but I think it's kind of squeezing a lot of those brands that aim for these quick wins, which I honestly think the next couple of years will be really interesting. But putting my customer hat on and, being a consumer obsessed person, I think that will be better for customers. Like, I think brands won't be able to screw customers as much because, you have to focus on LTV. Like if you want to,
brands had all the leverage before.
Yeah.
Brands had all the leverage. Now customers have all the leverage. It's just like a classic, like supply and demand.
It's supply and demand, but it's also like when you think about the sustainability of a long-term business is not going to be based on like if you're thinking on this 2-year horizon, you can just kind of go through your entire, your entire market, basically just churn through. Like if you think about, and I was thinking about this when I was at Nugs, it was like, how many people in the States are eating vegan chicken nuggets? And it's like, you can market it as like, it's not vegan, it's better, whatever. Let's say you say it's 3 million people or 10 million people. Like, if you're churning through 150, 200,000 customers a month and nobody's repurchasing, you run out of people pretty quickly. And then you go to Canada and Europe. And if you can't exit quick enough, it's just like, I think retention, if businesses have to be around and profitable for longer than 3 years, retention will be a larger.
Yeah. So I'll get back to the Twitter thread, but first I'll say, I think there's a ton of talk about like DTC is dead.
Love that.
This the final nail in the coffin? So I want to hear your thoughts.
Hottest topic.
But here are mine. I think DTC as the business model is dead, meaning that used to be a competitive advantage, or the hypothesis was that is a competitive advantage. Hey, we can make the same thing. We can make this, we're Harry's. Yeah, we can skip the middleman, save margin, pass it on to the customer. Like that's dead. That's, like all your margin goes to Facebook. So that's fine. Mm-hmm. I think like no matter what you need to have a good business, whether you're wholesale, whether you're traditional retail brand or DTC, and most brands should be a combination of both, but you need to have a really compelling reason to exist. You need to have a competitive advantage outside of DTC, However, the problem is not that DTC is dead. The problem is how the game was tried to be played. And you had these venture capital, essentially
businesses.
But people tried to apply SaaS frameworks to consumer brands, and it just doesn't work. You don't have the margins and you can't grow nearly as fast. We don't even really know if it works with SaaS. Like Uber's never been profitable, right? Like this has just been the growth era. So like there's a natural, it's not just DTC, like there is a pullback on growth in general. And I think we've probably gone too far that direction. But I know several really solid, really profitable, all direct to consumer businesses doing, 8 and 9 figures. And the one commonality I see is profitability amongst all of them. And they probably could be 300 and 400 million dollar businesses, at least probably 2 to 300 million dollar businesses. But they've just chosen not to grow that fast. And I think it's just not a sustainable game for you. You can only grow as fast as the market is really expanding and allowing you to grow. And if you try to force growth past that, like, you're going to overspend and run into issues. And sure, some investors might prefer that because really what they're looking for is valuations and not profitability, but that doesn't mean that that's necessarily the best for the business. So that's kind of my take. I don't think you can get to $1 billion to 500 million direct to consumer only. But I do think if your goal is to be 20, 50, 100, $200 million, it's certainly possible. What's your take?
I think that resonates. My take is, I think the D2C is dead is just a ridiculous terminology to use, because I think D2C is a sales channel. It's like, what is D2C? Like, D2C is that I'm not selling at Costco. Like, I think that, we saw this tweet, there's this kind of trend going around, like, great guys can have only one of these, don't have all three. And then it was like, great businesses don't have all three, low CAC, high LTV, and profitable on first order. And it's like, we've kind of taken the words D2C and we've said D2C means that they focus on LTV because they're not profitable on first order. They spend $1 zillion a month on Facebook and only get back half. Like, we took D2C, which is a sales channel, and turned it into this, like, D2C means X. Jones is probably the first business I'm at that's profitable on first order. Our acquisition makes sense. Our AOV makes sense based on our LTV. Like, we're a profitable business. So it wouldn't make it. I mean, if we were selling in retail, we'd lose more money. I mean, like, we are more profitable in D2C, and our growth is ridiculous. And it's like, you look at a business like ours, it's like, it doesn't fucking matter that it's D2C. And for me, you and I have this in common. We're both kind of D2C purists. We love the idea of having this customer communication, like this customer connection. But I mean, regardless, I think D2C is dead. D2C is a sales channel. Like, and kind of your point, right? It's like, you obviously need something more than just like, oh, we're cutting out the middleman. I mean, Casper, like, if your mattresses suck, it doesn't matter that I can buy it directly from you, right? Like, if you're Warby Parker, like, if your glasses are great, I don't care if I buy it in the store or I buy it at Costco, unless obviously your store is your competitive advantage where you have great employees. Like, I think that's really the question, is like, is your competitive advantage D2C? At Olipop, our competitive advantage wasn't D2C because we were shipping super heavy cans across the country. Like, that's not profitable.
Yeah, their competitive advantage is they make a really, really good product that's kind of unique.
Yeah.
It's it is kind of a category creator, right? Like, I don't know if they were the first probiotic soda. They're certainly the most well-known one now.
Yeah. And I think that's what my 2 cents are. Like, D2C is a sales channel. If you're profitable on D2C, D2C is definitely not dead. If you suck at D2C, D2C is dead for you. Your point, there's a bunch of, we know a bunch of like 8, 9-figure businesses that are crushing it and are profitable on first order and have great AOV. Even like a brand like Ridge Wallets, where it's like, you're not buying 20 wallets in your lifetime, like, they're crushing it. And it's like, there are plenty of brands in that same hemisphere where, they're doing crazy revenue. Some of them are bootstrapped. Some, to me, bootstrapped or non-bootstrapped matters even less than D2C or retail. I think that's just doesn't matter at all to me. I
don't know. Like, the majority of the DTC businesses that I think are crushing it, are and have gotten to, some decent size, up to 9 figures. I think most of them are bootstrapped.
I think what you're leaning into. Yeah, what you're leaning into is a mentality, though. Like, I think you need a bootstrap mentality, and you need to like not have to answer. Like, if for example, if I raise $10 million and all my VCs have the same mentality that growth at all costs is not what we're aiming for. We want to build this profitably. Like, I think you can do that well. I think the reason why bootstrap businesses generally do well, if they can make it, is because they have less of this obsession around.
Right. It's the mentality. It's probably about how much you raise. It's not black and white. It's about how much you raised as well. Because if you raise a certain amount at crazy high valuations, you're not allowed to have that mentality. Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's the struggle for even at Olipop. It was like, if you raise a crazy amount of money, you have to prove crazy growth. If you have to prove crazy growth, you have to do crazy shit to get there. So you have to overhire, aim to get as many kind of like, broaden your flavors, your SKUs, get more space on shelf. And it's like, if you're forced to grow at a certain kind of crazy pace to meet a certain valuation, very, very, very few. I mean, some brands have made it and crushed it, but very, very few make it out on the other side because there is not enough bandwidth to focus on retention, customer experience, brands, and every other thing that makes a business magical. I think there are businesses that have done it, and it's because they focus. Like Zappos is a great example. They focused their core theory was focusing on the customer. So growing very fast meant they're hiring more customer service people, right? Like I think it's like, if growing very fast means investing more money into brand and not just trying to sell as fast as you can, I think. Yeah.
Question for you.
Yeah.
So is Lululemon in retail at all? Like they
have
not,
their own
right?
stores.
Yeah, but so that's DTC, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
They crush it. I mean, I know they're public. I don't know if they're profitable. I would assume that they are. I don't know. I feel like, again, I don't necessarily look at, public companies' finances, but I would assume that they're profitable. Like their D2C, they're got to be a few $100 million a year at the very least. I don't know why anyone never talks about them. I guess because mainly they're more, brick and mortar. Fuck Tesla's D2C. I mean, like you can totally do it. It's not that you can't do it. I just think it's like those are really, really strong brands with great products.
I think we put too much focus on the words D2C, but D2C is a sales channel. Like I think the core building blocks of a business are what matters. And I think brands, I do think like there's an association of like if you're D2C, you're losing money on every order, your LTV is whatever, but your CAC is super high. And I think that's like, that's everyone's first thought is like, if you're D2C, you suck at CAC and your CAC and LTV ratio sucks.
Oh yeah. Any like growth person in DTC, if they saw our numbers, they would be like, you have to spend way more. Like you're slowing your growth down so much by not. And it's like, maybe that's why we're doing well. Like, yes, we could grow more, but like,
But then what? Like, I think for us, it's also like, we're not building on a 1-year trajectory. Like if we do 8 figures year 1 and we're on a route to 9, like I think we'll be just fine. We don't have to do it in 2 years. We can do it in 6.
Yeah, totally.
And we'd rather build a sustainable brand with consumers that keep coming back. Like I was going through the data a couple of weeks ago and we have customers, we are not even 2 years old. We have customers that order 20 plus times. I mean, that's chaos.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
That's crazy. All right. Let me finish up this thread real quick.
Yeah.
So we're spending we're spending about 40% of our budget on creative testing. It's actually like performing so much better. Like that campaign, the way I test is probably a little bit different than most. So I test in a CBO, campaign budget optimization, which means the budget goes at the campaign level. You put different ad sets in there and you let Facebook figure out how much spend goes to each. Most people test in an ABO, which is ad set, where you put the budget at the ad set and you manually do it. And the reason that they do that, they're like, oh, I want to control the spend. I want to make sure all of these ads get spent so I see what works. But when you're running Facebook ads, the most important thing is let Facebook figure out what's going to get the most efficient purchases by allocating your spend. So for me, the ABO makes no sense. So what I do is I put it in there, organize them, usually different concepts, either different product, different angle, in gets its own ad set.
What does ABO stand for?
So that's ad set budget optimization. So that's where you put the
versus
budget, the
CBO is what?
Is campaign.
Got
so it. CBO, like for example, I'll put like $10,000 a day at the campaign level, and then say I have 5 ad sets, it'll allocate the budget depending on what it thinks is going to be best. So if it has one really strong ad set, that's just it'll take 80% of the budget. So the reason I do that, because that's one of the things I'm looking for in my test is this going to get spend? And a lot of people you can have some ads that perform well. Facebook calls this a breakdown effect, that like will get not a lot of spend, but like the ROAS is really good. The CPA is really cheap. And then they'll be like, oh, let me force spend to this. And then the results are terrible, because by not getting spend, that's Facebook telling you, hey, this is not really a good ad. Like I don't have confidence that I'm going to get you the results you're looking for. So that's why we organize our tests that way. And then the other thing is I don't truly, like, what most people do is they'll test and then they'll take that same ad that is a winner and then they'll put it in like a scale campaign. And we have that and we do that, but I don't truly believe in a black and white, like this is a winner or a loser ad. I believe that, there's certainly an in-between. So what I will do is if something is crushing it and it's taking up all of the budget in there, I know that Facebook loves this. I needed to give it as much budget and kind of isolate it. I'll put it in my normal kind of scale campaign. That's, 60% of the budget. if something's really bad or it's not getting any spend, that's Facebook saying, hey, I don't love this, I'll turn it off. It wasn't a win, you know? But if something's decent and it's getting $1,000 a day, something like that, I'm like, all right, this is not like a winner. We're not going to spend all of our budget on this, but there's clearly a pocket of people who this resonates with. Like, let me kind of keep this just running for as long as I can. And so we're kind of like not shutting things off super quickly, letting them run for a few weeks. And that's just allowing us, I think, to just get like this like incremental kind of conversions and revenue. So our whatchamacallit, our test campaign, the ROAS is actually a lot better. And again, not that in-platform ROAS is that important, is actually quite a bit better this month than our kind of scale one, which is super, super interesting.
Why do you think in general, like, why do you think Facebook for most ads, and this is again a very new question, why do you think Facebook is doing better this month? Is it people are spending less? Is it a supply and demand thing?
I don't know. I think that they are making improvements and finally getting, it's been about a year after iOS. I think they have some updates to kind of how they attribute and how their models work. So I think they're kind of learning how to do things properly in this new environment again. Again, I don't know what the economy's doing, and that, market sentiment plays a huge role. A lot of times people on Twitter will be like, oh, Facebook is broken. It's like, Facebook isn't broken. Like, look at what's going on in the world. Like, literally, like a war will start and people will go to Facebook and be like, Facebook down for you guys? Like, I think they just released a new update. It's like, there's not a fucking new update. There's a fucking World War III about to start. Like, get your head out of your computer and like think like a person for a little bit.
I mean, we did see that. I mean, this is almost 6 months now, but we did see it during the Russia invasion, like right at the beginning, like everything went down. Like, people are less focused on spending money. Yeah.
No one wants to shop. No, like when people are uncertain, anytime you have any event where people have uncertainty, people aren't going to shop.
I love your take on how Facebook marketers just forget that there's a universe, which I think is just marketers in general. They're just like, wait, nobody's purchasing, and you're like, yeah, there's this nuclear weapon. There's
there's a meteor coming, honey. Let me go buy some makeup first.
Incredible.
All right, what else we got? So landing page testing, again, very iterative. So the way that we start is by testing big variables, so different styles of pages. We're going to test a Trojan horse, which is, I'll go into that, versus a listicle, versus a PDP, versus a different style of page. And once you kind of have an idea of what type of page works best, then you can test variables. And then what you want to do is just test one thing at a time, same exact page. You set up a redirect in Google Optimize, and you try to find priorities, different headline, different sections higher up. Does this convert better with social proof? Like, you have to develop, a hypothesis behind each one. But I think for a while, again, we weren't really testing landing pages. So we were just running stuff to PDPs that converted fine. Then we started doing listicles. They were working fine. And then we tested these kind of Trojan horse, and we tested them all against each other. And again, the most important thing is setting it up where you're controlling variables. And so now we have a pretty good data, we have enough data, and we have a pretty good idea that, not all the time, but for the most part, Trojan horse on Facebook performs better. On TikTok, actually, we found the listicle performs better. We found that Trojan horse going to the quiz performs slightly better than Trojan horse going to the PDP. Better conversion rate, lower AOV. So right now what we're working on and doing the same process is, how can we keep our conversion rate but get that AOV up on the quiz? And it's just those kind of incremental improvements. We're just trying to chip away at a few percentage points of conversion rate or AOV over, every little bit. And hopefully over the course of a year, that adds up to something special.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing for us, and I get asked this pretty often, like, do you think every brand should have a quiz, or do you think and I think the biggest kind of like, we talk about this often, the biggest objection for consumers buying makeup online is like, will it look good on me?
Mm-hmm.
What's my shade? And I think just getting that information out of the way before we send them to like buy our shit is like another great example of what we were talking about before, that, like marketing versus sales, right? Like if they know exactly what they should buy, it obviously will resonate more when they add it to their cart, and they'll feel stronger about it. And I think it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, we're able to slow it down. We're able to continue to market them through email and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's pretty crazy how we're getting like $8 emails, and that's not just a pop-up email. It's not like a pop-up for discount. That's like a full quiz completion. So like, thinking about what that's going to do for us Black Friday and just kind of
Our
incrementally
list is
throughout the year
bonkers
for our list growth. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's just kind of general in a nutshell what we're testing, how we're going about it, how we're finding success. I think to sum it up, really it's simplified account structure, ton on creative testing, but testing very strategically, doing it in a structured way where you're actually testing variables and generating learnings from it, and then landing page testing.
So a ton of testies, basically, is what you're saying.
A lot of testies. I was testies for pretty much the whole year.
You know what? As you're like going through all this, I'm like, this is like a mini Jones Road update. Like I was like, we should probably record our one-on-ones too.
Yeah.
Put it behind a paywall or something.
In our OnlyFans account.
Why does every episode end with our OnlyFans?
Oh yeah. Did you want to talk about a community real quick, or you want to save that for next time?
I think that's a pretty spicy one. I think we save it for next time. I don't want to get canceled yet.
All right. We talked about acquisition in this one. We'll talk about retention in the next one.
Yeah. No, that's going to be a fun conversation.
Anything else?
Anything else? Wait, is this? I'm trying to figure out if this is actually 10 or if we're recording 11 now.
No idea.
Because if we are at here, let me check episode 10. So this would be 11 actually. So we have one more episode in the season.
In the first season, and then we're gonna take a little break because I'm having a baby.
Love that for all of us. Wait, so should we bring on a guest for the next one, or should we just fuck around you and I?
That's up to you.
These are the questions. If anyone made it to the end.
I kind of like the no guest ones. I know people are like not even listening. We just have like a normal conversation.
I know, but I'm saying like if anyone makes it to the end, let us know. Like, do you prefer Cody and I talk about my cult building community, or do we want a guest? We had some interesting ideas.
Yeah, Eli's writing a Twitter thread this weekend on 7 lessons to learn from Donald Trump and building a cult-like community.
I'm gonna put in it's for my super followers only. No, I think that it's like it's a lukewarm take. It's not a hot take. I don't think I'll get canceled. Not the DJ TJ one, but the just like, how do you build a community by giving people permission to obsess? Yeah. So let us know. Just like I was gonna say, drop a comment, but shoot us a note just add us on Twitter if you want a guest or you and I talk about retention community stuff. Yeah, if you made it till here, let us know
one more.
What you dip your
12.
What would you dip your tendies into?
What's your favorite condiment for tendies?
I've been saying any kind of aioli, like a chipotle aioli.
Chipotle aioli. You like a spicy, like a sriracha?
Yeah, a little kick wouldn't hurt. Yeah. Or like a garlic aioli,
What is an aioli exactly? It's like a fancy.
It's a fancy. It's when fancy people don't want to say they dip into mayo, they say aioli.
What is the technical difference between mayo and aioli?
There is definitely. I mean, we can ask our production assistant. We can ask our production assistant to Google it, but Googled it real quickly. Although aioli and mayo are both creamy emulsions, aioli is made from garlic and olive oil, while mayo is made from egg yolks and canola oil. So aioli is healthier, better for you.
Okay.
Should we, after we, in a decade when we exit Jones Road, should we do DTC tendies? Yeah, but like unhealthy.
Yeah. Tendies. We'll just call it. No, unhealthy. We're not doing any gluten-free tendies.
It could be better for you. Yeah, it could be better for you, but I don't want it to be vegan. I want it to be like real ass chicken. But Can we call it? Can the name be 10 and then space DEEZ?
DEEZ.
Yeah.
Yes.
and every box comes with 10 of them. And we give you we give you a good sauce, like you get sauces with it, kind of like if you went to a takeout spot.
How do we incorporate the D's into it?
It'll be 10 D's, and then we'll have a whole line. There will be other D's.
10 D's. No, but there's got to be like a D's nuts joke in there somewhere.
There will be. There certainly will be. But I hope nobody makes it till the end, because if somebody steals their idea, I'll be really.
I'm actually so mad right now. So last night I went to Whole Foods. I got these. There's these like cauliflower covered tendies. So they're like gluten free. They're like they're actually really good for like somebody who doesn't eat real stuff. But our oven's not working right now. So I got to get
Lord
that
have
fixed.
mercy.
I want to eat these because, after a week like this, you got to have some tendies. That's what I learned from you.
No, that's very, very, very true. I was telling Cody, texted me last night. He's like, "You good?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just had a whole bunch of Chinese food and sugar. I feel great." But I think the other kind of wildly good cauliflower energy. So Erewhon, like the mecca of overpriced junk, they have like a turmeric cauliflower, absolutely bomb.
Really?
Anyone's
Turmeric
in LA,
cauliflower.
yeah.
Man, this guy does
Delicious.
yoga now, and now he goes to Erewhon.
Amazing.
All right, I got one more thing. So you know Mark Laurie? He's like the guy from like
Yes.
diapers and
Yeah,
so
Walmart,
fun
right?
fact,
He sold to Walmart.
Yeah, he sold to Walmart. Fun fact, diapers.com. The first office was in Montclair. He was my dad's tenant.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He actually lives not far from here. He still lives
Why?
in like,
Why don't we have him on the podcast?
I don't know. I don't know. This was like 20 years ago, but he actually lives not far from here. But so he's a boss. So he has this new company called Wonder. Have you heard of it?
I've definitely seen it.
They're these like trucks and they drive around and give you like, so there's an app, you pick what restaurant you want to order from. It's like takeout, but they cook it. They drive to you and they cook it in the truck.
Oh,
at
wait,
your
that's
house.
him?
Yeah, that's him. He started it. It's awesome. We did it last week for the first time. We literally did it the night after because we moved last week, so we weren't going to order. We've now in the last like 10 days, we've done it 3 times. Probably in the last 7 days.
What is like? How is this? It sounds like it's very expensive to run. Like, how is this profitable? How much is it?
I want to look. It's probably not profitable. So it's probably the same thing you'd pay for takeout at like a decent place. I think for 2 of us, we're paying between like $50 and $60. So it's not like terrible. No, it's not. You're not allowed to tip, which is great.
50 and 60, and they're coming to your house and making it in the kitchen in the back of the truck.
Yeah, they make it in the back of the truck, so it's like it's fresh. So the first time we got Greek food was delicious.
That sounds way too cheap. 50,
Second
$60
time we got like a rotisserie chicken with like veggies, and then third time we got like tacos, got like tamales and like carnitas. It's amazing. Yeah. I'm like worried they're going to run out of business because it can't be profitable.
It sounds way too cheap. I mean, $50-$60 is like what you'd pay on DoorDash for buying anywhere, including all the fees. And this is a guy making it in your backyard. I love that it's just FYI, it's 10:20 a.m. and I'm like absolutely starving hearing you talk about tacos.
I know. Yeah, no, right now they're only in New Jersey, and I don't even think they're everywhere. But I think hopefully they'll expand, and you'll get to try it. Big fan.
Okay, so we should kind of just shoot him a message, ask him if he wants to be on the podcast or what.
Good luck. I think we might be a little small for him.
A little over our head. Okay, so if anyone has a great guest idea, shoot us a little note. But
if not, you're stuck
with us.
2 of us again for one more episode.
Sweet.
All right. Peace.
Cheers.